Yo, what's going on? This is Dead Boy Fair. Welcome back to another video. Now, today's video, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we're doing another versus battle. But before we get into that, there's something else I want to get off my chest, and it's a huge thank you to you guys because if you haven't been able to tell now, we have hit the big 200 on the channel. We have finally hit our goal of 200 subs, and we've actually hit it a lot quicker than I expected. I expected us to hit it sometime in December, but luckily we were able to hit it before November even ended. So I'm truly grateful to you all. And ladies and gentlemen, oh, well, I take that back. Well, gentlemen, I truly appreciate the love and support you all have been giving me, and let's continue to have this channel grow, and let's aim for our next goal, which is 300 subs. So, with all that out the way, I'll let you guys get into the video as Minato versus Tobirama. All right, now we're officially back into the video, which is now Minato versus Tobirama. And so basically the reason I decided to do this video is because I seen someone in a Discord server say that Tobirama can beat Minato. And at first thought I was, a little up in the air about that. I was like, I don't really know. So, as I usually do, I decided to do my research, start looking into this, pick up some feats for both characters, and, see other people's opinion like in Reddit and, other YouTube videos. So I can get a visualization of how I feel this fight would truly go down. Now, as we all know, these are two extremely fast characters in their own right. Now, this is going to be a very broken up fight because I feel like I'll break it up in at least 3 different parts. So we'll start it off around, third grade ninja war, Minato, and I guess you could say Senju versus Uchiha war, Tobirama, the one that killed Izuna. So we'll start off with those, and then we'll eventually move into both of them in their Hokage stages. So Hokage Minato versus Hokage Tobirama, and then we'll move into Edo Tensei after that. Now, starting off with third grade ninja war, Minato versus I can't even remember if that was considered the first grade ninja war. I believe it wasn't because Tobirama technically died in the first grade ninja war. So whatever you want to call that war, the Senju and Uchiha had, we're taking that Tobirama. So starting off with this one, and to be honest with you guys, I believe this one is actually the clearest of them all, simply because with, how do I say it, with, Minato's feats in the third grade ninja war, it was flat out just shown that, his flying Raijin, he had to have a better mastery of it than Tobirama did at that point in time. It is not to say that Tobirama didn't have a good mastery with it. It's simply to say that, this Tobirama was probably relatively new to the jutsu. He had probably just created it, is I guess the words I'm trying to say. So not that he was bad at it, but the way that he was able to utilize it, it looked like he was still brand new to the jutsu and still trying to get the best hang of it. While Minato in the third grade ninja war was launching almost 8 or 9 kunais and wiping out entire platoons of people, and having him as a run on sight person throughout the entire great ninja war. So, in Tobirama's defense, I feel like this fight is just one-sided towards Minato, simply because he just flat out has the better use of the flying Raijin. And for the most part, that's the only thing we ever seen Tobirama doing. That is, we seen Uzuna shoot a fireball, he canceled out with a water dragon jutsu, and then he uses one kunai to slice up Izuna, who at the time had a 3-tomo Sharingan. Now, moving on to the next one, this is why I feel that, moving on to the next one, how do I want to word it? This is where I feel that the battle can slightly change, because I've seen this for people. There are people who don't think that there's a significant difference between, third grade ninja war Minato and Hokage Minato. And the reason I say this is because while Tobirama definitely has, become a lot quicker and a lot better with his flying Raijin usage. Now, the only downfall is when he was Hokage, we didn't really see him ever use it. The only thing we seen him was when he used it against, when he could have used it against the Kinkaku Force when he went out there and died. But, that's never stated, nor did we ever get to see anything about that. So the thing about it is if you believe that there is no significant difference between third grade ninja war Minato and Hokage Minato, which I feel is not very, I don't feel that it's the fairest, not even the fairest thing. I don't think it's the most realistic thing possible to say, because it's just like saying that, a character just flat out just, it's no significant difference between him from a period of time to now. It just doesn't really make sense, is what I'm trying to say. But there are people who will sit here and argue that Minato just flat out doesn't. It's no difference between the third grade ninja war and the Hokage Minato. And I would say that for the most part, you could argue that we don't know when Minato technically ended up having Sage mode or was able to summon frogs, because I don't remember him using anything like that in the third grade ninja war, which you would think would be a pretty smart idea considering the fact of how big Gamabunta and all those other people are. And also, you can make the assumption that it's pretty clear that he probably learned this after that in Great Ninja War, where he actually had the time to, because Minato was still probably a teenager, if not like right in his 20s, and we know he became Hokage at 23. So around this age, Minato was fighting in the third grade ninja war, so he probably didn't have time to flat out just go out and learn Sage Mode. And even then, I felt that would have been something that would have been very useful for him to use in the war arc. Now, granted, he did state that he's not the best at gathering the energy, but one thing you cannot take away is the simple fact that Minato is a perfect sage, and there's no argument about that. And the simple fact about that is because his eyes look the exact same of Naruto's, and if he wasn't a perfect sage, then he would have looked like Jiraiya, which he doesn't. So, he's definitely a perfect sage, so he gets all the amps of being a sage, his movement speed, physical strength, and all that being amped. And of course, his sensory ability. Now, the reason I say that, like I said earlier, that it's dumb to think that Minato doesn't get stronger from, third grade ninja war to Hokage is because of the reasons I just stated right there. And to say that, like I was saying earlier with the thing, if you believe Minato doesn't get any faster, well, the significant difference between Tobirama and his ninja war against, the Senju clan, the Uchiha clan, and from where he was as Hokage. Now, he does get slightly older, so, the older you get, you could argue you slightly get slower, but it isn't 100% factual, because the Raikage was still, at his point in time, he was in his 50s and 40s, 50s, somewhere in there when we see him in Shippuden, and he was still just as fast, if not faster, than he was when he fought Minato in the third grade ninja war. Now, if you believe that Minato is the exact same as he was in the third grade ninja war, then would it be valid enough to say that since Minato, if you want to argue this, you could say that since Obito's Kamui should be faster than what a 3-tomo Sharingan can read, and if basically Minato was able to warp out of that completely based off like the simple fact that he had the reaction time to get up out of there, considering the fact that he didn't know what he was getting warped into, he just had the reaction time to move out of the way. Now, if you believe that, now it becomes into the fact of how fast do you think Tobirama is, and how did Tobirama actually use his flying Raijin? Because if you believe that Tobirama is not as fast as what Kamui should be, then you would believe for the most part that Minato should still be faster in a significant aspect. And the reason I bring this point up is because I've seen people state that there are better feats that state that Tobirama are faster, which in my opinion I don't really see those facts. But I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. So basically, like I'm saying, if you believe that Tobirama from his Uchiha War days is so much faster now that he's a slightly older Hokage than what Minato was when he fought Obito, then sure, Tobirama can win this one. Now, that's because of the simple fact that's also if you're not taking into the fact that you don't believe Minato got any stronger. So, I might have been all over the place, but let me try and break it down as simple as I can. So basically, if you believe Minato is the same strength as he was in the third grade ninja war, and this is the same Minato that was able to warp and basically kind of destroy Obito in a speed battle, then you could say that since Tobirama, he would have so much more time to, master his flying Raijin, even though, here's another reason why I don't really understand why people will argue this. Tobirama flat out stated that Minato's flying Raijin is a much better use of his, considering the fact that Minato was the first Hokage to get to the battlefield. Not only did he get to the battlefield first, he had time to like warp away a Ten Tails bomb and then get there, and he still managed to beat every other Hokage, Tobirama included, of course. So if you do believe that, then yeah, sure, you could say that Tobirama would win in the Hokage stage. If you believe that Tobirama has gotten so much faster that he should be faster than Obito's Kamui, and he probably should be faster than what Minato is. Now, if you are like me and that doesn't really make sense, we're on the same page. Because to be honest with you, I don't know where people got that image from. The way I see it personally, I'm going to give you my side of it, is I see the simple fact that Minato is still significantly faster than Tobirama simply because of his use of the Flying Raijin. As we know, for the most part, it looked like Minato was able to use his kunais, and he also always kept a lot more kunais on him. He was able to keep almost, it felt like almost an endless supply of kunais on him. But Minato always had them wrapped in his seal, so he was able to use them in a much more quicker and effective way, which Tobirama also stated himself. And so the simple fact of Tobirama only for us showing really used his flying rising technique on Obito and Uzuna, and then a couple other occasions like when he tried to use it on Madara, but it didn't work out for him. You know, in those uses, he only did one. He would never use multiple, which leads me to believe that Minato should be significantly faster with his use of the flying rising technique. And here's another thing that I've seen that people try to make the point for of why Tobirama should be faster, is what I was talking about earlier, is the fact that someone was arguing that would I agree that's 14-year-old Obito is comparable in speed to Minato, which in my opinion I would say no, because at the end of the day Minato still ended up blitzing him and ended up hitting him with the Rasengan. Now granted, Obito's hand did touch Minato's first, but at the same time you also have to remember that Minato, one, was trying to figure out what Obito was. That's number one. And two, Minato also threw a kunai first, which in his defense would require him to throw his arm and then reach back and begin to form the Rasengan, which isn't really fair to say Obito caught him first, considering the fact that, maybe Minato probably could have caught him first had he not had to throw the kunai first. But regardless, he still was able to speed blitz him, and it didn't work out in Obito's favor. So the simple fact of saying that they should be comparable in speed is, you can say that Obito is comparable in speed to Minato. You can try and say that, but the way he was wording it, he was making it seem like Obito was a significantly faster one, and he was saying that Minato is comparable to Obito, which I don't think is fair. And so, based on that, he was assuming that the simple fact that Minato is comparable to Obito in speed, the fact that Tobirama in the War Arc was able to hit Ten Tails Obito with the Flying Raijin, he is now way faster. And here's how I feel about that. Number one, once again, Tobirama had a lot more people around him. This was a war. He had plenty of allies. He had a lot of strong people around him. He didn't have to defend anything. If he got hit, granted it was by Ten Tails Obito, he knew the risk that would have happened if he was to get hit. He had Naruto, Sasuke, Hashirama himself, other Kage level, including Minato and Hiruzen there, and a bunch more other shinobi there to help think of stuff to get Obito. Now granted, Tobirama was the one to think of the simple fact to use Sage mode, and also he was able to tag Obito. Now the thing about that is, yes, he was able to tag Obito, but my thing about it is the simple fact of Minato had to deal with the Obito that he was less informed about, and also the fact that this Obito that Minato went against was able to use Kamui, which he was able to have better reaction time, because if he got caught off guard, he would be able to warp through the attack, which in Ten Tails form, Obito was not able to use Kamui, so he was bound to get hit by it if he got speed blitzed regardless. And honestly, you could easily say the same for Minato being able to do such a thing, considering the fact that, like I said earlier, Tobirama stated himself that his Flying Raijin usage was much better. So, to use that point is really, in my opinion, invalid, because Minato could have used the same thing, not saying he could have thought of the same thing, but in his right state of mind, sorry for my words, Minato probably could have thought of the same thing. The only reason he didn't is because we all know Minato was kind of very, very shook in the war, once he figured out Obito was alive and he was the one that attacked the leaf. So it isn't very fair to put that against Minato because, like any other character, he was in a messed up state of mind. But at the same time, you can't diss the fact that Minato shouldn't be able to do the same thing. As smart as Minato is, as we've been, shown in the past that he has the highest scores on all type of things, he's just a flat out prodigy is what he was stated to be. And so to say that Minato's Flying Raijin was one, just flat out not stated, like to be easily faster than Tobirama's, which it was, and then to make an assumption that makes it seem like Minato wouldn't be able to do the same thing is, in my opinion, just like it's BS, if I'm gonna say it the least. It's just like you're brushing off Minato. And so yeah, if you believe that Tobirama is, faster than Minato somehow, some way, then sure, you can give it to base. Their Hokage stage, you can give it to Tobirama. If you're gonna ask me, I'm not gonna give it to Tobirama. I still think Minato, with his Sage Mode usage and his Flying Raijin superiority, that he should be able to still win the battle no matter what. And even if he doesn't use Sage Mode, which for the most part, like, he didn't even against Obito. So even if you want to say, oh, it's not fair that he uses Sage Mode because he never did use it when he was in the Hokage stage, that's fair. He still has a better Flying Raijin usage, and so he should be able to blitz around the battlefield quicker than Tobirama. Not to say that Tobirama will get absolutely demolished, because he wouldn't, because Tobirama for the most part should have more jutsu up his sleeve, more chakra, and he has probably better physical attributes than Minato. But the simple fact of Minato being, in my opinion, like I've continued to say, significantly faster, it just makes up for all that. And then the fact that of Rasengan, if you want to argue, which I would argue, that the Rasengan probably has the most amount of power rather than anything Tobirama has in his display, basically in his bag. I believe the Rinnegan, not the Rinnegan, I'm sorry. The Rasengan is the strongest attack by both fighters on the battlefield. Tobirama was a master of water style usage, but, it's not very one-shotty like the Rasengan has been shown to be against certain people. So then moving on to the Edo Tensei stages, I feel like it's kind of the same as the previous stage, until the simple fact of Minato using the Nine Tails chakra, which he was flat out stated to be now in his base Nine Tails cloak form. His movement speed is as fast as his Flying Raijin speed with in base. So his Flying Raijin speed is out of this world in his Bijou mode. So yeah, it's an easy win for Minato if he goes into, if we're talking Edo Tensei. Now, if he doesn't go into, the Nine Tails cloak, then Tobirama will have an easier chance fighting him. He'll be able to use Tandem Paper Bomb. He might be able to use some reanimation jutsu, and he might be able to come out with the win had he, if he pressures Minato into all these fighters with these, because we don't know how many, actual reanimations Tobirama has, and of course those comes with sacrifices. So that's why I never mentioned reanimations, which I should have stated earlier. Is the simple fact that those reanimations take sacrifices, which it's not fair to say Tobirama will always come prepared with. So yeah, that's gonna wrap this video right here. I believe personally Minato wins 3-0. There are a lot of people who are gonna disagree with me. That's what happens when you're in the versus battle and the debate community. It happens. So if you disagree with me, leave it down in the comment section below. Leave why you disagree with me. I love to see what you guys wrote. I love to text back. And we can always hop in the Discord server if you want to. It's always in my description, and we can always talk about it. So yeah, with all that out the way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And once again, I thank you for the 200 subs. And let's go ahead and hit this goal of 300 subs. Now with all out the way, I'll see you guys in the next one.